It was supposed to be a night I would always remember, our 10th wedding anniversary. And yeah, I will remember it. Just not for the reason I hoped. I had made reservations weeks in advance at High Ridge Grill, the nicest restaurant in the area, with a view of the lake and prices that make you blink twice. I had my best clothes on, fresh from the dry cleaner. My hair was trimmed, my boots polished. And in my pocket, I had a small black velvet box. Inside, a pair of earrings, handmade, real turquoise and silver, the kind Kaylin always admired. I thought I was doing everything right. She was 30 minutes late when the first feeling of worry crawled into my chest. An hour passed, and the waiter started checking in on me with that polite but awkward smile that means they feel sorry for you. After 90 minutes, the manager offered to hold my table. 2 hours in, I was on my third overpriced drink, trying to keep my face from showing the cracks. At 2.5 hours, I knew something was wrong, but I still sat there, waiting. Then, 3 hours after our reservation time, the door opened, and there she was. Kaylin, my wife, 35 years old. Beautiful, no doubt about it. She had on a tight red dress I had never seen before, makeup done like she was heading to a nightclub, not to celebrate a decade of marriage. But what knocked the air out of my lungs wasn't just how she looked. It was who she was with. 3 of her girlfriends were with her: Miranda, Sage, and Jolene. All of them dressed like they were auditioning for a music video. Not a single one of them noticed me at first. Then Kaylin looked over, saw me still sitting at that table, and laughed. "Told you he'd still be here," she said loud enough for me to hear. Like a sad little puppy. They all burst out laughing. I sat there, stomach twisted into a knot, my hands gripping the arms of my chair. The waiter gave me that look again, pity mixed with embarrassment. I didn't say a word, just smiled thinly and waved him over. "Another one," I told him. "Stronger this time." Kaylin came over to me like she was greeting a child, leaned down, and kissed me on the forehead. "Such a good little pet, Eli," she said, giggling. "Eli Redbird. That's me. 39 years old. Raised on honesty, built a life on loyalty, and right now, sitting in the middle of a disaster I never saw coming." She turned and walked off, back to her friends, telling them she was going to freshen up as she disappeared toward the restrooms. They stayed by the bar, sipping drinks and whispering. I took out my phone and stared at the blank screen. I wasn't even mad at that point. Just hollow. I did not want to lose it. Not there. Not like that. I did not go home that night. I found a cheap motel out past the highway, paid cash, and spent the night staring at the cracked ceiling. She never called. Never even sent a message to ask where I was. But the next morning, 85 missed calls. Most of them between 3 and 5 a.m. One voicemail. Her voice, all breathless and panicked. "Eli, please, this is not what you think. It was just a joke. Just a dumb joke with the girls. You're blowing it way out of proportion. A joke." That is what she called it. I opened my email. There was one message. No sender name. Just a subject line. "You deserve to know." Attached to it was a video. I should have deleted it. Should have tossed the phone out the window. But I watched it. Kaylin. Then over the hood of a black muscle car. That same red dress. Her boots still on. Hair wild. A man's hand around her neck like he owned her. And him? It was Jordan. My gym buddy. She moaned his name like it was sacred. This was not a one-time mistake. No way. The way she looked at him, the way she moved, it was all too familiar, too comfortable. I did not cry. Not then. I just stood there in the motel bathroom, hands white-knuckled on the sink. I stared at the man looking back at me in the mirror. Pale. Lost. Like a man who had been gut-punched by someone he trusted most. But the worst part? I was not even surprised. I think deep down, I had known. That night at the restaurant just tore the curtain down. The lies stopped holding weight. The mask slipped. And I saw her for who she really was, a woman who had not loved me for a long time. I stayed in that room all night. Could not eat. Could not sleep. Her voice echoed in my head, moaning another man's name over and over like a song stuck on repeat. By midday, I turned my phone back on. More texts. More calls. The latest one said, "Can we please talk? I'm outside your work. I just want to explain." Explain? I sent one word back. Liar. Then I blocked her. The next day, I went back to the house. Not to forgive her, but to see it. To see her face and hear what she would try to sell me now. Her car was in the driveway. I could hear music playing from inside, something loud and trashy. I stepped inside and walked upstairs. She was standing in front of the mirror, curling her hair, dressed like she was going out to a club. She saw me in the reflection, froze for a second, then turned around. You were not supposed to be home, she said, flat as stone. Clearly, I replied. She crossed her arms like I was the one interrupting her. I'm going out, she said. Now is not a good time to talk. Out? I asked. She rolled her eyes. Oh, come on. Are we still doing this? You laughed at me, I said. In front of your friends. On our anniversary. In that video. She scoffed. Oh, here we go with your little broken heart drama. You act like a saint, Eli. But you're boring. You play the good husband, but you have no idea what it is like to feel wanted, desired. And Jordan? I asked. At least he did not cry after giving me earrings, she said, sneering. I should have screamed. Should have slammed something. Instead, I just nodded. Thanks, I said. That is all I needed. She tilted her head. What does that mean? It means I'm done. Do not call me. Do not come near me. You made your choice. She laughed like it was the dumbest thing she had ever heard. You will be back. You always are. You love me too much. You do not have the guts to leave. I walked out the door. For the first time in years, I did not look back. Not even once. She shouted something after me. You will die alone, Eli. Maybe I will. But I will not die her fool. For a short while, I felt like I might finally get some peace. But that did not last. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning when someone buzzed the door of my small apartment. I was half asleep, but I got up and looked through the peephole. And there she was. Kaylin. Standing in the hallway in heels and a trench coat. Makeup smeared like she had tried to cry but gave up halfway through. Black mascara ran down her cheeks in streaks. I did not open the door. She banged harder. Eli, open up. Nothing from me. I know you're in there. Quit acting like a coward. Still, I said nothing. That is when she lost it. Screamed loud enough to wake the neighbors. You think you are so perfect? You are not better than me. You are just some loser I did a favor by marrying. Lights started flicking on in the building. Doors cracked open. I finally cracked the door, stepped outside, and closed it behind me. You need to leave, I said, calm but firm. She stepped closer, eyes wild, breath quick. You are really going through with this? You're throwing away 10 years because I made a mistake? You are that weak? I shook my head. You didn't slip, Kaylin. You dove headfirst. And you kept diving. You only feel sorry now because you are the one left standing alone. She slapped me. No hesitation. Right across the face. And I laughed. I did not mean to. It just came out sharp and bitter. She froze, stunned, like she had expected me to cry or beg. That's it. I asked. After everything, all you got left is a slap and a tantrum? She opened her mouth, but I did not wait to hear it. I turned around, walked back inside, and locked the door. She stood out there yelling for a while longer, but eventually she left. I did not sleep that night, but I did not hurt, either. Something had changed. I was done bleeding over someone who never cared I was wounded. A few days later, a man knocked on my door and handed me divorce papers. Filed by her. Not me. After all she had done, after mocking me, humiliating me, cheating on me in ways I could barely wrap my head around, she wanted to be the one in control. She even had the nerve to write emotional abandonment as the reason. That part nearly made me laugh out loud. I signed them right there on the counter. No lawyer. No fight. I did not want the house, the car, or the couch we picked out together. She could have all of it. To me, it was just baggage. And I wanted out. But the hits kept coming. 2 days after I signed, I got a message from Scott, a buddy from high school who still lived in town and managed a gym. Hey man, you probably do not want to hear this, but I saw Kaylin and Jordan at the mall. Looked like they were shopping for rings. Rings. 2 weeks after she laughed in my face at our anniversary dinner and tossed our marriage in the trash, she was out looking at engagement rings with the guy she cheated on me with. Like I was just an old jacket she outgrew and donated. Part of me wanted to drive down there and make a scene. Rip the ring out of her hand and throw it across the parking lot. But I didn't. I sat in my empty apartment with a cup of black coffee in one hand and a cigarette in the other, one I never lit. I don't even smoke. Just held it between my fingers, thinking about how fast love can turn to something toxic. Then my mom called. She had run into Kaylin at the grocery store. She told me she misses you, my mom said softly. Said you overreacted. I had to hold the phone away from my ear so I would not yell. Overreacted? I spent 10 years trying to be the best man I knew how to be, while she treated me like background noise. While she was out playing pretend in alleys and hotel rooms with men she barely knew, I was at home cooking dinner and rubbing her shoulders. My mom did not mean to hurt me. She loved her. Everyone did. For 10 years, Kaylin had worn the mask perfectly. Sweet. Charming. The kind of woman who smiled at church potlucks and hugged every aunt in the room. But behind closed doors, she had stopped being my wife long before she left. She stopped touching me 2 years in. Said she was tired. Stressed. Not in the mood. Said she was working on herself. So I waited. I made her breakfast in bed. Left sticky notes with, "I love you" in her purse. Took her on surprise trips. I tried. She gave nothing back. Instead, she gave herself to men who made her feel alive. That word stuck with me. Like I had made her dead. Like her boredom was somehow my fault. A week passed. I ignored everyone, Scott, my mother, even the text from her cousin asking if we could just talk. Then one day, I saw her again. I walked into a diner for some coffee to go, and there she was, sitting in a booth by the window with some new guy. Not Jordan. Somebody else. His arm was on the table. Her hand was tracing the vein on it, same way she used to do with me back when she cared. I did not go over. I just stood by the register, waiting. She saw me. I know she did, because her smile got bigger. Then she leaned in close to him and whispered something, laughing like I was the joke. Like I was just a story to tell after the check came. I walked out. Left my coffee behind. 2 months went by. The divorce was finalized. No courtroom battles. No drawn-out arguments. Just an envelope in the mail. A few typed paragraphs telling me the state no longer considered us a couple. It should have felt like freedom. Instead, it felt like I had buried a version of myself that no longer existed. I tried to rebuild. Hit the gym more. Started cooking again. Read books I had forgotten I owned. It was like trying to learn to walk all over again. My legs still worked, but nothing felt stable. The nights were the hardest. That time between midnight and dawn, when the world goes quiet and your mind starts digging through the past like a grave robber. I would lie there staring at the ceiling, remembering the good stuff. Her smile. Her laugh. How she used to fall asleep with her head on my chest. And I kept asking myself the same terrible question. Was any of it real? Or was I just part of a story she was telling until she got bored with the plot? One night I broke. Opened up the photo app on my phone and scrolled all the way back to our trip to the coast in 2015. There she was, laughing in the sun, sunglasses on, holding my hand. I remember proposing that trip. She said yes before I even finished the sentence. And now? Now I could not tell if that smile was ever genuine. Maybe she was just acting, playing the part of the perfect partner. That night, I deleted every photo. All of them. Even the ones that made me smile. Especially those. It did not fix anything, but it helped. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message. It was from Jolene, the same woman who had been laughing at that restaurant when Kaylin mocked me. She wrote, "You didn't deserve what she did. None of it was an accident. She's been cheating on you since your 3rd year. Jordan was just the one who got caught. There were others. Guys from work. Guys from the gym. Even that trip to New York? She met someone there too. We all knew. We just figured you did too, or maybe you didn't care." I stared at the screen, reading those words over and over. I had known. Not the details. Not the names. But I had known. I just did not want to admit it. I sat there, staring at the wall for what felt like hours. It hit me. I had not been married to a person. I had been married to a performance. A polished, well-rehearsed act where I was just a background prop. A supporting character in a circus I did not even realize I was part of. While I was trying to keep everything steady, spinning plates to keep us afloat, she was out dancing with any man who gave her 5 minutes of attention. But there was no rage anymore. Just this strange stillness. Like standing in the wreckage after a storm, when there's nothing left to break, nothing left to lose. I replied to Jolene with one line. Appreciate the honesty. Hope your conscience feels lighter. What else was there to say? I saw it clearly now. What I had with Kaylin had never been love. Not real love. It was dependence. She craved attention, control, and admiration. And I handed it over freely, mistaking it for romance. But I was never a partner in her world. I was a mirror. Something to reflect her back to herself when she needed to feel desired. And when my reflection no longer thrilled her, she tossed me aside and picked up the next shiny one who did. I started therapy, not because I wanted to talk about my feelings, but because I needed someone to tell me I wasn't losing my damn mind. That I wasn't weak for waking up every day with her name still rattling around in my head like a bad song I couldn't turn off. Dr. Ramsey, the therapist, wasn't warm and fuzzy, which I appreciated. No cliches. No sugarcoating. Just questions. Sharp ones. The one that stuck with me most was this. Do you miss her? Or do you miss who you thought she was? I sat there, quiet for a long time. Because the truth was, I didn't miss her. Not really. I missed the version I'd created in my head. The one who rubbed my back when I had a long shift, who sent me dumb jokes during the day, who used to laugh like I was the only man in the world. But that version was fiction. A costume. A smile she wore like lipstick when it suited her. The real her? That was the cold, sharp edge I'd come to know all too well. And you know what made it worse? The way people reacted. Some friends said, "Man, I always had a weird feeling about her." Like that helped now. My uncle shrugged and said, "At least there weren't kids involved." Even my boss, trying to joke, told me I could go find a younger model now. Everyone had jokes. Nobody had answers. But the worst part? The silence that came after it all. No more yelling, no voicemails, no slamming on my door at 2 o'clock in the morning. Just nothing. And that nothing? It was deafening. In that silence, I started hearing the truth I had ignored for years. Like how lonely I had felt in that marriage. How I had gotten used to walking on eggshells. How I had excused her cruel remarks, her hot and cold moods, her sudden girl nights, and disappearing acts, just to avoid another fight. I was not perfect. I never claimed to be. But I showed up. I stayed loyal. I tried, damn hard, to hold together something that was crumbling the whole time while she was out pouring gasoline on every match she could find. And now? She was probably telling some new guy that I was too clingy, too sensitive, maybe even emotionally unstable. Because that is what people like her do. They rewrite the story until they're the hero. Let her. Let her tell whatever version she needs to sleep at night. I am not correcting the record anymore. I am chasing peace now. The real kind. Not the quiet dread I used to feel lying beside someone who flinched when I touched her. I started running again. Put the bottle down. Picked up old hobbies. Carving, sketching, even strumming the guitar I had not touched in years. Not because I was trying to heal, but because I needed to remember who I was before she took up every corner of my mind. And slowly, I started feeling like myself again. Not the version of me she twisted. Not the broken man who sat in a restaurant for 3 damn hours thinking she was just late. But the real me. The one who finally understood he deserved more. The last time I saw her, it was by accident. It was a sunny Sunday, and I was at the local farmer's market getting coffee and fresh bread, chatting with vendors like I actually cared about rosemary and goat cheese. And then I heard it, her laugh. That laugh used to be my favorite sound in the world. Now it made my skin crawl. There she was, wearing a flowery little dress, arm in arm with some new guy. Not Jordan. Not the one from the diner. Someone else. Looked young. Maybe 24, 25. She saw me. Of course she did. And she did not flinch. She leaned in close to the guy, said something, and they both looked over, like I was some sad old memory she was sharing for fun. He laughed. She smirked. And I realized she was still playing the part. Still performing. Hair curled. Smile perfected. Fake joy dialed up to 10. And it hit me. How tiring it must be to live like that. Always pretending. Always selling some image of a happy life while leaving wreckage behind. I didn't wave. I didn't stop. I walked right past her like she was a stranger. Because that's what she was now. Back home, sitting on my balcony with a cup of coffee, I did not feel bitter, or sad, or broken. I felt free. That is when I knew. I had finally stopped bleeding for someone who would not have even offered me a bandage. And that kind of silence? That felt like peace. You know, betrayal does not kill you. It just cuts you wide enough so the truth finally has room to get in. And the truth? I loved a woman who never loved me back. I gave her everything I had. Time, energy, faith. And she laughed behind my back with anyone who offered her a cheap thrill. She bragged about how easily she could break me. And maybe that says something about me. About what I thought love was supposed to feel like. About what I was taught to accept. But I am not ashamed. I would rather be the man who tried, who believed, who stayed loyal, than the kind of person who uses others like props in a show and discards them when they stop shining. She did not destroy me. She revealed me. Showed me what was cracked. Showed me what I needed to rebuild. And now, I do not hate her. You cannot hate someone you have outgrown. If she wants to spend the rest of her life bouncing from thrill to thrill, taking selfies with men she barely knows, laughing at the damage in her rearview mirror, that is her story. But me? I am walking forward. No rearview mirror. No soundtrack. No apologies. Just forward. And if you were reading this, if you were the one still sitting alone at that table, hoping they'll walk in, hoping it was just traffic, get up, pay your bill, walk out, and do not stop walking until you remember exactly who the hell you are. Healing isn't dramatic. It is not some big, teary breakdown in a movie scene. It is small, quiet. It is realizing one morning that you haven't thought about them all day. It is walking past the places that used to feel haunted and feeling nothing. It is cleaning out their last sweatshirt, their forgotten shampoo bottle, the quote they hung in your hallway about choosing love daily, and throwing it all in the trash, not out of anger, but because it simply does not belong to you anymore. That is healing. That is freedom. One night, I finally went out again. Real people this time, folks who saw through the smoke, who didn't pretend nothing happened. Friends who checked in when I went quiet for too long. The kind who listened when I talked and didn't try to slap on some cheap advice. We had drinks, cracked jokes, even flirted a little with a few women at the bar. Nothing serious, just a taste of life again. And somewhere between the clinking glasses and the sound of laughter, I caught myself doing something I hadn't done in a long, long time. I smiled. Not that strained, fake kind I used to wear like armor during the worst parts of my marriage. No, this one was real. It reached my eyes. Felt like mine. I will not lie to you and say I'm completely over it. There are still nights I wake up in a sweat, heart pounding, after dreaming she was across the table, saying all the things I used to beg to hear. But now, I don't chase that dream. I don't spend the day drowning in fog, wondering what could have been or trying to solve puzzles I didn't break. I let the dream drift away like smoke. Because the truth is, she didn't ruin me. She woke me up. The fallout taught me more than the marriage ever did. I learned that loyalty means nothing without respect. That love, without honesty, is just manipulation dressed in something nicer. That you can pour your heart into someone and they'll still choose destruction because that's all they know how to hold. And maybe the hardest truth of all? Closure doesn't always come from the person who hurt you. Sometimes, closure is just deciding they're not capable of giving it. Sometimes, it's walking away and locking the door yourself. So here I am, still healing, but no longer bleeding. Stronger, but not bitter. Wiser, but not cold. I don't know what comes next. Maybe I'll fall in love again someday. Maybe I won't. Either way, I'm all right. Because now, for the first time in years, I'm loving someone I ignored for way too long myself. And if you're sitting there, wondering whether you should stay in something that's slowly killing who you are, let me be clear. You don't owe loyalty to someone who feeds on your silence. You don't owe patience to someone who mocks your kindness. You don't owe your life to someone who treats it like a joke. Walk away before the laughter at your expense becomes a soundtrack you can't shut off. You deserve more. You always did. Time passed. A few weeks turned into months. With every day, the grip she had on my mind loosened. There wasn't one big cinematic moment, no dramatic rain-soaked goodbye or movie-style monologue. It was just a quiet, steady detachment. One moment at a time. And the farther I got from the version of me that was tied to her, the clearer I saw all the little lies I had let pass as normal. I picked up writing again. At first, it was just late-night ramblings in a half-full notebook. Thoughts I couldn't shut off. But then it became more pages that actually made sense. Not about her, not directly, but about me. My voice. My pain. My truth. For years, I was a background character in my own damn story, orbiting her moods, her wants, her chaos. Now I'm holding the pen. I saw Jake once. Of all places, it was a gas station just off the highway. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked older, worn down, eye sunken. That energy he used to strut around with was gone. He spotted me, froze. I looked back at him, no anger, no heat, just cold, steady silence. He nodded like he might say something, like he wanted to throw a sorry, man, at me and call it even. He did, actually. Muttered it under his breath. Sorry, man. As if that could rewind the tape. As if that erased the fact that he stood in my home, drank my whiskey, listened to me talk about my marriage, and then went and screwed her anyway. That kind of betrayal? It doesn't get fixed with an apology. I didn't answer. I just turned around and walked away. After that, I changed my number. I didn't announce it. Didn't post about it. Just did it. Cut the last thread she could use to reel me back in with those late night, I miss you messages she only sent when guilt or loneliness crept in. No more games. No more fake tears. She had enough chances. She cashed every one of them in for a few sweaty nights in strangers' beds. I'm bankrupt to forgiveness now. Sometimes people ask, would you ever take her back? If she changed? If she realized what she lost? No, because she didn't lose me. She threw me away. That wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. And people like that don't change their patterns unless they hit rock bottom. But Kaylin? She wasn't looking to change. She was looking for new mirrors to admire herself in.